share my morning mobility routine. Mobility meaning we are expanding our range of motion, and then to attain that range of motion we are actually activating some muscles and doing some holds or contractions, eccentric, isometric or eccentric, or in my German, in my English. I'm gonna explain the various ways how to attain and preserve that range of motion after we go through some mobility. So mobility is the first thing that you want to do and engage through the range of motion that you have to expand it. And then if you want to, obviously you want to achieve long-term mobility, but you want to have strength in those ranges of motion, and I'm going to show you how to get it. Wrist mobility in each direction, because everything that is happening in the wrist is actually controlled through the forearm and shoulder structures and scapula. So we can start off by just rocking back and forth, breathing. You are pushing your hips a little bit to the front and also going over your wrists with a shoulder as much as possible, depending on your level of flexibility and mobility. You just really want to find the farthest point where you still feel comfortable but challenged. Now I want us to flip one palm to the ceiling and just do the same thing. Sometimes the range of motion can be smaller here. That's okay. If you have not acquired the same range of motion this particular exercise, it is because we do not use this position of our wrist that much often. That's why we need to definitely put some attention to it and practice it. Then return it on the other side, so our fingers are facing the right this time. Want to do the same thing on the other hand. You are naturally breathing here, so do not stop your breath. Preferably you are going to breathe through your nose the entire time, so that your body is in rest and digest state, parasympathetic, nervous response. I just flipped my fingers to the outside on my left hand. I'm trying to breathe between my talking and guiding you. So from here we are going to flip and turn our fingers inside and just rock back and forth again, stretching that inner side of our forearms. For a deeper range of motion, you can always hold for 5 seconds. So to attain more flexibility, or you can just keep rocking. So this would be two very different ways how to attain mobility. It's just rocking back and forth, breathing into it. And how to deepen and preserve that range of motion, we would be holding for 5 seconds. Now I want you guys to flip your palms, again facing the ceiling, and again just rock back and forth. We are starting, I'm always starting with my wrists because there's a lot happening on the wrists and they need a lot of attention that we are normally not showing them. So here as well you can hold for 5 seconds and then come out of it, inhale and then hold, exhale. I want you as well flipping your fingers inside with your palm facing down. There is a nerve ending or beginning, however you want, in your small finger that is coming all the way up to your shoulder and scapula. So we want to mobilize that as well, because motion is lotion. It's literally giving life to your body when you move, because we are made for moving. Humans are definitely made to move. Now after all of this, you may want to shake it out a little bit. Each and every direction you consider is working for you at the moment. Frog, internal hip mobility. So I'm going to turn around and place my knees away from each other, flexing my toes in the back. So just trying to, when you first get into this position, just trying to breathe a little bit. And then you start to rock, slowly rocking back and forth. And then I want you to pick your foot up, exhale as you internally rotate your hip. So if you want to rest your wrists, you can go onto your elbows. In the beginning, it doesn't really matter, but as you do it on a regular basis, I will definitely go onto my palms for this one, because we get more angle, more pressure onto your inner hip rotation, and more range of motion is possible here actually, right? So after you have done 6 to 8 of those, you can switch sides. So you can obviously stay here in a static position with pushing your knees into the ground as you actively engage through your groin. That would be preserving your range of motion. Dynamically going through the rocks would be just mobilizing and getting the range of motion through your breathing. But then pushing your knees into the ground would actually, for 5 seconds on and then rest for 5 seconds, it would actually engage through your range of motion and preserve the range of motion in the long term. Alright, so we're slowly coming out of this because it can be uncomfortable. So from here I want us to do a little bit of lunge mobility, hip extension. So the first level would be just stepping out to the outside of your mat on an exhale, pushing your hip down into the mat or the ground, working on just mobilizing in hip extension. And you really want to breathe properly here, consistent breathing, flowing, engaging with your breath so that the movement would make sense and would actually work for you. I have very tight hips, so I always start with this one, with the level 1 mobility. So from here, I had my foot extended. Now I can flex my feet in the back, and I can actually start pushing myself off of my feet to a lunge. So my knee is not on the ground anymore. I exhale, push my entire body forward through my toes. And then I also lift my chest up, extend and look up. On an exhale, you might want to change up your breathing if it suits for you. I just love to tell people that you should breathe however you feel. So that's kind of meaning, so you should choose where your exhale and inhale is, but they should still be existent throughout every move. So you can exhale here and inhale this way because you are opening up your chest. It makes a lot more sense for me. Exhale and inhale. And also you are inhaling into extension of your hip. And that makes a lot of sense for me. Or you can just exhale to the front. So from here, we're gonna inhale, lift our arm on the same side, and we're just gonna explore the movement here. What can I do with my upper body whilst I'm in this lunge? So I can also move my knee, glue my foot, but move everything else, explore what kind of movement is possible while being in this lunge. So a lot of things is possible depending on your technical skill set or whatever you have in your body memory, as well as mobility. So from here, I want us to just drop our knee to the ground and pick it back up. A little bit of external rotation for the hip. And then I want us to just extend in this lunge, bending forward, so extend and bend over the extended leg. Round your spine, so you can also mobilize our shoulder and scapula a little bit. Five to 8 of those is pretty much okay for the morning session. Let's proceed. So I'm stepping to the front in this high lunge. The knee in the back is hovered above the ground, and I just explore this movement. What can the rest of my body do here? As I'm having the left toe glued to the ground, I can and should move every other part of my body in every direction. So I'm basically just exploring what is possible while my back leg is in hip extension. So just moving through all the ranges of motion. Move your head as well, move your shoulders. And then I want you to drop your knee, holding onto the ground. We can have a lot of tightness in our shins as well, which you will feel in this motion if you have it. So if this is too hard for you, you can always come in with your foot a little bit closer to the middle of your mat and then just drop your knee. Upper body does not really matter what the upper body does. And then coming back. Rest a little bit. This is an engaging one. So I'm gonna do upper body, lower body, alternating between those two so we can rest all of our structures a little bit in the meantime. First, I want to show you though how to preserve that range of motion in your hip extension. So our hip flexors can be attained, can be stretched, and can be mobilized, and can be preserved in a way. The first option would be in a lunge, where we are basically low lunge, pushing into the ground but squeezing our glutes for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we release. On the release, you can basically relax. And then exhale, squeeze the glute, push the hip into the ground. So a little bit of advanced kind of version of this would be high lunge, squeezing our glute. So it's the same principle. I'm pushing my hip in a posterior pelvic tilt, so I am driving my hips to the front so I can have the real extension of the flexor muscles on a deeper level, and then I am squeezing the glutes for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I release. On the release, I may want to turn over and do the actual relaxation throughout the whole structure. And then on an exhale, I need to remember though to push my pelvic to the front every time and then squeeze my glute here. And then come back to inhale. Squeeze. So 5 to 8 of those will be enough, and then proceeding on to the other side. So preserving the range of motion in your hip flexors. We are extending them though, so we want to extend our flexors because we are always in a crunch position. They are always flexing for us. So the first version would be just kneeling low lunge with our hips pushed forward. This is what you normally see as a stretching exercise video. But what I want you to actually do here is push your pelvic to the front and squeeze your glute. For 5 seconds and hold, and then release and relax. So you really want to engage your glute to be able to preserve that hip flexor in extension range of motion. Squeeze your glute and push your hip to the front, keeping the pelvis still as much as possible, and rest. A little bit tougher version of this one would be in a high lunge, pelvic to the front, then lowering down. Squeezing your glute here for 5, 3, 2, 1. On an inhale, you may want to relax and come to the front. Squeezing that pelvis to the front, and the glute is active. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can inhale up and then exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. Next thing we're gonna do to rest our lower body, we're gonna do some shoulder hydraulic movement, which I pretty much swear to everyone that it heals shoulders 3-dimensionally. So from the kneeling foreleg position, we want to engage all of our fingers. So you really want to embrace and grab the ground. And from here, as you first start, you may want to watch some of my hydraulics how-to videos and tutorials. Basically, you are circling the shoulder, slow manner, breathing through it to find that range of motion. And after you attain that movement, you may want to do it with single arm, because much more weight is then the arms and shoulders are bearing much more weight. With a single arm, you go really slowly, slow down the movement to the point where you feel that your entire back and SI joint, so lumbar area, is connecting and mobilizing whilst you just mobilize your shoulder, girdle, structures, and then change direction. So whenever I think, yes, my shoulders are now fine, I have this range of motion, I come back to this exercise and I slow down this movement to the point where I'm just sweating, because no matter what skill level you are, there's always a way to make an easy exercise really engaging for the nervous system and the mobility. So this works every time, because daily we are challenged by first gravity and then everything else we do. We move our body, how we move our body, what do we eat and drink. So basically, daily mobility is, I get a lot of questions if I would recommend daily mobility. It's an understatement that I would recommend it. It is what your life should be about, just moving through motions. Yes, finding different ways to mobilize and attain range of motion, but basically, if it works for you, then do it every day, because it can just be good for you, because mobility is strength in motion. From here, I want to introduce hydraulics to you. Basically, you should start off by having your opposite leg on your foot, supporting, and then the same side leg is kind of bended. You can lean on it when you first start, and you want this depression and elevation of the scapula going on here, where you exhale in whichever direction you believe it's harder for you. So I like to inhale, dropping, and exhale with pushing away from the ground. And then when you got this movement, you're gonna feel your scapula is gonna be reborn. You can also try the circle motion. It's not necessary, you can play around with it. What I like the most from this movement is that you can shift where your weight is mostly centered by moving your hips and lower body from this crawling position, foreleg position, into this crab-like position. It's just a single arm, but it's still a crab position, and then going three-dimensionally through this movement. So, shoulder hydraulics, three-dimensional movement. Your opposite leg supporting you, same side knee, kind of rests underneath. And then starting with depression and elevation here, we just inhale one direction, exhale in the other. You really want to connect with your body, so your mind now has a kind of representation of where your body in space is. What does it feel? How does it feel inside? So you really want to be aware going through all of these motions, what is happening inside. You may want to circle a little bit as well, and leave that to you if you want to play with it. Let's go in three-dimensionally. Engage this area by coming from foreleg position into a crab position. Exhale, inhale down, exhale up, and then coming back. Slow down the movement. Slower is much harder, but then again you need to first learn the movement and then you can speed it up, eventually coming back to slower movement when necessary. Let's proceed into a squat mobility. So find your squat position, find your width of your legs. We are all different and we cannot expect that our squats would be the same. What matters is you try to find a squat position with your heels down. If this is not happening for you at the beginning, you can squat on your fingertips, on your toes, but eventually you want to really push the heels down actively if you cannot squat on your heels. So first thing we're going to do in squat is just press our elbows into our knees, exhale, pressing knees to the outside, inhale, release, exhale, exhale. From here, I just want you to explore what your upper body can do. And then I'm going to show you some drills here. So basically, what we just did with shoulders was we did a mobility and also strength and preservance of that mobility in the same time with the hydraulics. From here, I want you to see what is it that my shoulders can do here. I can play a lot. You can dance, you can do however you feel it's easier for you. And then I want you to put your thumbs up, because yes, I know you like this video, but also to do the next exercise. So I'm having my straight back straight all the time, and then stacking my thumbs onto each other and then placing my fist on the ground. I want to exhale and try to reach my thumb with my forehead. And then as I inhale, I want to straighten my back. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Squat mobility is something that is trained and needs to be done, yes, every day. Just being in a squat, if you cannot handle anything else, is an exercise for itself. Just time it and see how long can you last in the squat without doing anything. And then once you attain kind of decent time, at least 30 seconds, then you can start doing these exercises. I want you now to grab your left ankle with your right arm and then just inhale, reaching with your left arm up. Exhale, reaching to the other side. Inhale up, look at your hand. Exhale, reach to the other side. 5 of those. Try to keep straight back. Try to breathe, because it will help attain and expand that range of motion. Let's switch sides. Inhale up, exhale, look in every direction your arm is moving. You're mobilizing your spine, opening your chest, staying in the squat. It's a very multi-dimensional drill. Last one. Alrighty, so to come out from the squat and to rest, you can basically just come out and play. You know, just exploring the range of motion in the squat. So there is a lot of drills that can be done from just squatting. I just showed you a couple of those. I want to mobilize our hips in this position as well, as we're in a low squat on our toes. We want to reach to the ground with our knees. So if this is your first time doing this, you can always support yourself on the floor, to the front, or even standing up like this, and then supporting yourself to the back, kind of breaking, b-boying move. Very good for your ankles, knees, and hips. So then I want you to come back, extend your knees a little bit here, and bend over, just breathe here. So we did a lot of structures, we did mobilize a lot of structures in this advanced mobility morning routine. So just move however your body feels it needs to move right now. And I want you to alternate between extending your legs here, feel it in your hamstrings, and bend. Exhale, extend, and bend. From here, I want you to step to the front of your mat, and let's do a little drill that is multidimensional, mobilizing your entire body. You want to make prayer position, open up your chest to the side while your knees are bent. Inhale here, exhale, push one leg back into the back lunge, drop your hips down and drop your knee down. Inhale here, open up. Exhale as you bend over the front knee. Inhale back up. Push that lower knee from the ground up. Rotate into a prayer position. Open up your chest. Inhale. Exhale to come back into the starting position. Inhale. Extend your knees, bend over. Exhale here. Inhale, doing it to the other side. Prayer position, chest up. Exhale, push your left leg back. Drop your hip down, drop your knee down. Inhale. Exhale as you bend over your front knee. Inhale up again. Open up your chest, push your elbows to the back. Exhale, push your lower knee up. Inhale, prayer position, rotate the upper body. Exhale, come back into the starting position. Inhale while you bend over, extend your legs. Exhale here as well. So bend your knees, inhale, rotate, prayer position. Exhale, right leg goes back, hip pushes down, knee down. Inhale, open up, exhale, and over, inhale. On an exhale, you want to push the back knee up. Inhale, rotate, open up your chest. Exhale, come into the starting position. Inhale, relax your upper body, bend it over, straight knees. Exhale here and then inhale again. To repeat on the other side. Open up your chest. Exhale, left leg goes back. Hips down, knee down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale up. Push up the knee up. Exhale. Inhale, rotate, open up your chest again. Exhale. Come back to the front of your mat. Inhale, release here, and then on exhale, you want to curl up slowly. Knees are bent. Alright, thank you for watching this video. Share with anyone who you feel that might be needing this. Recommended to do this mobility routine or any kind of mobility routine every single day. After you got out of your bed and after you have done my in-bed routine, that is basically making our body hydraulic, meaning makes the fluid inside the body flowing. So share, comment, share if you have done it, send a video. Thank you guys, subscribe, send me your wishes, send me your concerns or your problems and I'll try to solve it. You can always book me for an online class, private and individual, or just an online consultation or coaching in movement. Hugs, blessings to you all. Bye.